We're with Gregory Burns, who's a painter and a Para Olympian, and many people would say he's creative, and he definitely would say he's creative. But I want to ask Greg, what is it about creativity, and can everyone be creative, even people working in an office? Definitely Greg would call himself creative because he paints. But how does that relate to someone in a bank? Greg, can everyone be creative, or is it just people like you were born that way?
I think we're all born with it. I think it's a matter of developing it. But I think one of the things that gets in people's way for creativity is fear of starting and fear of changing. And to give an example, I think oftentimes I start a painting without a clear concept of the end product. And I'm willing to do that because I'm willing to say, right, my intuition, my gut feel, if you want to say that, the idea I have is such, but it's not all fleshed out. And I'm not afraid to invest some energy, i.e. some paint, my time, my emotions, whatever it is, to try to bring that to fruition. So I think just diving in and starting in, even without all the answers, is one of the best ways. You know, you could even say flying by the seat of your pants.
Greg, would my boss like me to say that if I was working in an office?
If you're stuck, if you're looking for something fresh and new, all else fails. I mean, I'm not saying this is the last ditch effort, but I think there are places for that when you're looking for something new and different.
What about the fact that I work 12 hours a day in an office? I don't have time to be creative. Is that something that you would refute?
I would commiserate with you. I think we all get tired. I think you need to look away. You need to walk away. You need to recharge your battery. And that might mean some downtime, like 10 minutes and deep breathing and looking out the window at a sunset or something. But I think we can recharge much faster than we think. We don't have to go to the Riviera for a month with our wife and kids or what else.
So you can just take these very short minutes to recharge. What happens to adults? I mean, we see the kids are very creative and they have no fear of being creative and they love to be creative. What happens? Or did you never grow up?
I hope I have in some ways, but I think the fear thing. We get afraid. We have too much vested interests. We're afraid to change if we get something started, or we're afraid to jump in. And I think that's a big thing. It's the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not looking perfect, and not knowing. Again, back to not being afraid to start in on something without all the answers, because you can't know all the answers. Life is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So this box that we have to have the ending, therefore we have to find a start, is something that is blocking creativity.
Agreed, yes.
We've got to sometimes start not knowing where we're going and let the creative process take over.
Exactly.
What's the relationship between you being an artist and a Para Olympian? And are both of these creative, or is one more mechanical?
Because when I paint, it's a very physical thing. When I swim and do what all these sports I do, it's a very physical thing. And it's an emotive thing. When I climb a mountain, I get to the top of the mountain, I use a lot of energy to get there. And then I use that energy, instead of just to take a picture with my Kodak camera, I sit down and I paint. So I try to channel that energy into something creative. Analogy for saying just start and don't know all the answers was today. I was on my way to a meeting. I had 400 meters to go from where I was in a dry building through a torrential downpour with lightning and everything, and I didn't know how I was going to get those 400 meters without coming to the meeting drenched like a wet dish rag. So I waited for 10 minutes. I had 30 minutes to get to the meeting. I waited for 10 and I decided this is not going to stop raining. So as I said, throw caution to the wind, I'll just go and see what happens. As I stepped from the cover of the building I was in, a woman next to me with an umbrella said, "Do you need an umbrella?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Where are you going?" And she and I were going to the exact same place. And we walked out into the rain, and I came to my meeting not drenched. So that was, I think part of it is being not fearless, but being willing to take that first step without the what do you call the net, the safety net underneath.
What's the relationship between fear and creativity?
The relationship, sometimes it's possible fear can help creativity.
Fear also stop us being creative. I mean, you're talking about taking that first step out. If we're afraid we don't know where the end is, we're not going to take that first step. What you're saying is we've got to put that fear aside and take that step if we want to be creative.
No, definitely I mean, I was trying to look at it out of the box a different way. What's the positive of fear? Definitely fear stops us, no question. It stops us from taking the first step. It stops us from doing something we're not sure of and discovering something. I talk about the idea when I was young, I was a camp counselor. We used to walk in the woods on moonless nights with no flashlight. And I remember we'd walk in the woods, and you know, at first your eyes cannot see. It's all black. But in time, your eyes begin to adjust, and you can actually start to make out a little bit. And the same analogy is, you've got to trust that you will be able to see the next tree, the next stone, the stump, so you don't trip and fall over a canyon or something. So it's, again, the same analogy. You've got to be willing to take that, put your fears aside, and take those first little steps maybe, but take them so you're getting up. You know, it's like when you're exercising, you get up ahead of steam, you get your heart rate going, you're not starting from a standstill. You got to get some momentum, and then that helps you carry on when you get to places where you get stuck.
And that doesn't matter whether you're doing a painting or training as for the next Olympic Games.
Not at all.
It's all the same, the theories behind it. So I'm sitting working in an office, I can take your painting idea, I can take your training idea and apply it to my work.
Most definitely. Perfect example, another one, I mean, swimming. I hate swimming when it's cold. I hate swimming in the rain. How many times have I sat at the side of the pool and said, I'm not getting in there, it's too cold, or I haven't eaten enough, I'm not in the mood, whatever. You have your excuses. And invariably, because the way I am, invariably I get in. I say, okay, I'll do my warm-up. And invariably I'll do my warm-up. And by the time I've got my warm-up out under my belt, it's like, well, okay, I'll do the first half of the workout. And then, you know, invariably I finish the whole thing. And it's the same thing.
Are some people not creative because they set such big goals that they can't do that first step?
Excellent. Yeah, why? Why not? I mean, again, the simplest things, keep it simple. The simplest things are sometimes the most creative, the most interesting, the most powerful. So why are you putting some huge, you know, all-encompassing, earth-shattering, you know, goal at the end of the tunnel when, you know, you're just trying to get the ball to roll a little bit?